The GOAT of GOATs, Tom Brady. How did you, for so long, stay so disciplined?
There was part of me that was a psychopath out there. Even the competition motivated us to be better. When I played Peyton Manning, I couldn't have an off day. That dude was gonna throw for 350 yards. And when you're getting hit, as you know, there's a discipline with your physical body that you need to take into account.
Is there anyone that you were like afraid to get hit by?
A lot of guys.
I saw a post, I think from AB. You were just making sure that he was getting to his psych appointments. What's your relationship like with Antonio? Biggest partier from the NFL.
Roberto Gronkowski.
Do you ever feel like all of this is just a social construct to distract us from the fact that we live on a spinning rock hurtling through space with no destination in mind?
You're right. I think about that a lot. Like, in the end,
2017, my first Super Bowl. You win the game in what was like one of the greatest comebacks ever, and definitely in Super Bowl history.
I'm always trying to fight from behind. Like, I was a late bloomer. I just bloomed a little late in that Super Bowl too.
Do you regret doing the roast of Tom Brady?
I went out late last night. I got
Yeah, see, this is now.
and then I gotta travel this week, and there's only so much you can do, you know. Like I try to get up at 5:30 and like get going, you know, and I come home at 3 or 4.
I was gonna ask about that because my social battery as well is just horrible.
Yeah,
I don't really have it actually.
Nah, yours is depleting fast.
Well, I'm a dad now, dude. Like,
Are you really?
7-month-old daughter, like, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, it's awesome.
Daughters are the best until they're 12.
I can't wait.
things
Can't
get
wait,
scary.
brother.
And then there's a dip for about 6 years. These are on.
You don't have to.
Yeah,
you
it's
can
your
do
call.
whichever one you want. We use them just to be more professional.
You guys be professional.
We could take up micro cues from each other. Like if he goes, then I know he's about to say something.
I'll just read your body language.
Yeah, that works. Damn, dude. He's
the-
gonna
read
beat
the
us at
play?
it. He's like, I don't even need to hear the micro stuff. He's like, I just pick it up off
Dude, I
site.
can't believe it. I thought this was a joke.
Yeah.
Michael Rubin was like, yeah, dude, I got you Tom Brady for the podcast. I was like, no,
No, you didn't.
no way. Threw us in the group chat. I'm like, oh my God, dude. So we're basically, we're in a group chat now with Michael Rubin. That's awesome.
Well, we got it worked out.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
You guys are in my home state. You're like 200 yards from my house. This is like couldn't get any better.
Oh, no
Convenient.
way.
Try
Yeah.
to make things convenient for you, Tom.
Thank you. You did. Why can't everybody do it like that? Actually, I'm putting in formal requests going forward. Everyone needs to be this convenient, or else I'm not doing it.
We did want to make it as easy as possible for you.
You did.
Yeah, we were-
I could have swam across from my house right there. Isn't
Actually?
that nice? Yeah, literally, I could have swam.
You can throw 2 rocks.
That's insane.
rocks.
Yeah, he probably could throw a rock and do it. I don't know about me.
You probably could.
Nah, my arm, you'd be surprised. My coach in high school said I was the most unathletic kid he's ever coached.
Really?
Why?
Is that a compliment?
Yeah, I
If
took
you're
it
the
as-
most athletic.
some sports I just look really kind of like clunky out there.
Oh,
Throwing specifically.
yeah. It's interesting because people always measure athleticism, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, he's a great athlete," and I've always thought, okay, what constitutes a great athlete?
Yeah, what does?
You know, because I would be considered not a great athlete, right? Because in the NFL draft, 199, right? I didn't run that fast. Obviously, I ran very slow, and I didn't jump very high. But everything else I was actually pretty good at. Like I could hit a golf ball 330 yards. I could throw a football 70 yards. I could hit a baseball out of a ballpark. I could I could play ping pong, pool.
Yeah.
I could shoot threes. I could I could play pickle.
Yeah.
I just can't jump or run. But everyone who can jump or run is considered a great athlete.
Yeah.
But they can't throw the ball, or they can't hit a ball, or they can't. So it's kind of bizarre.
So what do you think the core metric really is? Do you think it's just performance in the discipline that you've chosen?
I think there's a lot to that because you could
Why are you looking at me like that?
I like the way you look.
No, do you have something you want to say to me?
No.
Because we can get this out of the way right now.
Yeah, get it out. Let's hash it out.
Seriously.
I don't
No,
have
I
any-
saw you snarkily like staring at me out of the corner of my eye. I didn't like it.
I swear to God, I wasn't thinking about anything. But now that you say it, I am thinking like, what the hell do you know about athleticism?
That's when I'm asking questions. I'm
Well,
not
what
making
sports did you
statements.
play in
barely
high
walk
school?
up.
Did you-
I'll in sports. Tell you what he did.
What did you do?
Heroin.
Is that a sport?
It felt
him
like
it
it
was.
sometimes,
I don't play
and
that
guess
sport.
what? I was the GOAT of that sport. Okay?
No, well, then you're still
I've
here. You should be thankful.
I am very thankful. Tom, can I ask you a question? Not related to sports.
No, I don't do heroin.
That's good.
And no one else out there should do it either, for the record.
No.
Do you ever
So
feel like
bad.
all of this is just a social construct to distract us from the fact that we live on a spinning rock hurtling through space with no destination in mind?
That's brilliant right there. Like, life's short, and like we may take ourselves way too seriously.
Yes.
And I'm not someone that takes much. Well, I take death seriously, certainly, but you're right. I think about that a lot. Like, in the end, what really matters. Actually, I have a friend, and I send a lot of like galaxy stuff, and then you're right. When you realize that's really what's going on, why are we taking ourselves that seriously?
Do you think about death?
I think taking ourselves too seriously, or we're a mud ball.
Just about, are you is mortality an obstacle in your mind? Is it something you think about?
No, it's coming for all of us, but I think like in the context of my life, and I think the way that it's changed, not that I feel like I've changed much, but I threw a football for a living and I was pretty good at it. I didn't cure cancer. And when I realized that at a pretty young age of playing, it gave me a lot of perspective. That like there's a lot of people out there who are heroes in real life, doing real life stuff that are really impacting the world in a positive way. And we get glorified because we do something well in a sport at this time, in this era. But the reality is, what can we do to pay it forward? And I think like for me going forward, it's always about how can I help other people maximize their potential? People came into my life at the right time when I was really open to learning and I was I was very curious about what kind of the world had to offer, and they took me under their wing. And I feel like going forward, I'm 47, I'll be 48 this year. It's like, how do I do the same thing for other people as they go through their life? And they're looking for a mentor. And I tried to be that way as a teammate when I played. But now that I'm not really a formal teammate of everybody I come across, I just want to try to add my 2 cents, because a lot of people did that for me, and it really helped curate this incredible dream that I got to live out.
So humble.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of humble people around me. And I think, again, it's when you realize that in the end, it really doesn't matter. And I have 3 kids that mean the world to me. And like, how can I be the best example for them? To me, it's like, okay, you wake up every day, you show everybody respect. You try your best at everything you do. You always have a great heart. You lead with your heart. You approach people and you care about them. And, the world needs more people that care about each other and that care about, this social construct of everybody trying to live their best life.
Damn social construct. Great. The question worked out.
It really
It led to something great. Yeah. Do you think about that level of deprecation on this sports or sports entertainment and what it means to the world, and sometimes forget how important it is for people to be able to turn off that always important, always impactful part of their lives, and Sunday sit down with the family, watch the game? Like, do you ever think that maybe what you did kind of was important to a lot of people?
Important, and I think there's very few things that transcend the social norms or transcend all the the race, the gender, the age, the socioeconomic background, and sports does that. It fills stadiums. And it's real life, and it plays out. And I was saying this to a friend last night, and I was in the context of football players, because there was a few guys that I was sitting at dinner last night that I really like. And I was like, I said to my friends that football players are the best guys. And they're just hardworking. There's such a meritocracy in professional football. If you're the best, you will play. And like, you don't feel like there's a few guys who are about themselves, but for the most part, they're about each other. And there's nothing like being in a locker room full of people that care about you and you care about them. And I just feel like that's like, man, how do we get that in a broader society?
Like the government, for example. Like people that just want to work together. No, we're not going to get political. Tom.
Yeah, I know. Good. Well, we can't solve the problems of humanity on the show today.
We can try.
It'll take a few more episodes, but
you talked about this mentorship and how important it is for you to mentor other people. Man, I could go 2 different ways with this right now. Who would you describe as the most important mentor in your life as you came up through the ranks? There's not one.
Okay. And I look at phases of my life, and they kind of added on as I went. My dad was my greatest. My dad and mom set the foundation for who I am. My mom's the, sweetest, most caring, loving woman, gave me like a great foundation, always believed in me when no one else did. I said I was very slow. I couldn't run. She would say, honey, you're the fastest on the field. I'm like, Mom, but the moms believe in you so much, and they give you this sense of confidence, even though you really shouldn't have it. And then my dad was my idol. Like, I had 3 older sisters. I wanted to play football, and he was like there every step of the way with me. Dad, I want to go to this camp. He drove me to the camp, and I wasn't even at a football school. I didn't even realize this would really be my career path. But like, he was always there after every game. I show up, win or lose, he was there to like embrace me and love me. And I think that family gave me the best foundation. I had 3 great sisters that were like show up to my games at Michigan, just the three of them ready to fight people in the stands that they were talking shit about their brother, you know? And then, you know, I get drafted. There was a sports psychologist I had at Michigan who taught me how to like see things through a different perspective when I felt sorry for myself or I wasn't getting the opportunities. He would say like, man, fuck that. Like, stop worrying about all the things that don't go your way and start focusing on the things that are going your way and do better with those. And like, quit looking at the guy next to you and saying, well, he's getting more, he's getting this. Like, just do the best with what you got. And then I had a guy who taught me how to throw football, Tom Martinez. He passed away around 2011. Taught me literally, like, from the time I was in high school in 1995, he was always, you know, 1993, I started working with him to work on my throwing mechanics. And then I get drafted by Bill Belichick, and he's a mentor. And then Alex Guerrero comes into my life in 2022, and I can't throw football because my arm's killing me. And he takes me under his wing, and we become best friends. And I learned so much about health and wellness in my body. And there's no way I could accomplish what I did in my career without him. So I just look at this as like so many people coming along that like, how lucky am I to have these people come into my life and say, and then there's a lot of other people along the journey too. Josh McDaniels, one of my great coaches, and business mentors, people that I looked up to, and psychologists that came into my life and helped me in so many ways. So I don't know, we should all be really open to learning. Like there's a great line that I heard from this guy, Sadhguru, said, what we know, yeah, he's amazing, right?
On the podcast.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
you know, what we
incredible.
know is limited, what we don't know is limitless. And like, okay, like, let's learn, let's be open, let's go into things with, you know, our ears open to listen and learn. And I think that's a great part about it.
I want to actually draw a comparison between you and another GOAT who happens to be my boss, Triple H. He just got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and in his speech, he's saying a lot of things that you're actually saying right now. He was just so thankful for everyone who helped him along the way, and he didn't attribute his greatness to really himself that much. It was the people around him and the people that helped push him in the right direction. And I think the humility that you both exhibit is super inspiring. But that's one thing about you that's always separated you from other people who are at the top of their game, dude. Your mindset. Your mindset is unbelievable, and I'm someone who has a lot of drive, and I want to do great things in this life, and hopefully entertain in a way that can help people detach, like we spoke about earlier, which I think is really useful for a lot of people because, man, life's hard, but to be able to, you know, watch a wrestling match and see a move and get a dopamine spike at home, or to me, that feels like my current journey. But how did you, for so long, stay so disciplined in your sport? Because the longevity of your career and performing at the level you did, and even having like a second wind at the tail end of your career, is just one of the most astounding things I think that anyone's ever seen in sports.
Yeah, I was blessed to love what I did for a job, just like you're doing now. You know, it's like you really have to love it, because I think that's what, when you wake up in the morning, you bounce out of bed. That's the way to do it. Is like, okay, what do I got going today? What purpose do I have to jump up out of bed? And I think football, you could look at it as a sport, but to me, it was all about like relationships and teammates. So, you know, even mentors, you know, I talk about some people who I would say were more my teachers. Then I have like my teammates who are my motivators, and I didn't want to let those guys down. And there was a lot of those, you know, Rodney Harrison and Ty Law and Kevin Falk and Wes Welker and Randy Moss and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Gronk and Julian. Like, you just don't, when you know they're putting a lot on the line, their body, their family, their time, you don't want to let them down. And so there's an accountability to sports. Like, you get in the ring with someone who's a great wrestler. You want your best, well, for the crowd, certainly, and for yourself, but that guy's putting a lot on the line too. So you're like, I better show up, ready to go. Can't mess this up. We're in this rhythm. We have this cadence. This is a performance. And people are dedicating their time. They could do anything to watch you, to pay attention to what you're doing. And they chose you. So like, what responsibility do you have to those people who chose you when they're right? They're working 2 jobs, working construction, working in supermarkets. They got a little bit of free time. They come home. and they put you on, like that's a great responsibility.
See, it's funny because I feel like what you just said right there, this responsibility to the public, not every person in the spotlight feels that. And that is something that I feel like probably comes from your upbringing and from the teaching from your parents.
Yeah.
And so like the way you explained it, I believe is correct. It's an amalgamation of all of these different things. Talent or hard work, out of the two of them, which one is a more important ingredient to the type of success that you've seen?
Hard work, 100%. And I have real life examples, not just in sports, but in business. I mean, I know a lot of guys that aren't Harvard MBAs. I have a couple of friends, my friend Michael Rubin at Fanatics. It's like, and I love Michael. My friend Mike Rapoli at Noble. He's like, all the Harvard guys work for me. He goes, I was a 2.2 GPA. I got all these Harvard guys working. And look, I'm not disparaging to Harvard at all. That's a great school. I could never got in there. The closest I got was a charity football game playing on like the field with, for best buddies. But it was like, these guys are just, they got all the traits. And I think the ones that are really sustainable. Because even in sports, you have, in order to be your best, you need to maximize your physical, your mental, and your emotional. And we're talking about physical, you're talking about talent, which is great. And that's a great bar to set. You need to have the height, the weight, the speed, the ability, the physical ability. But then you need, to me, the ability to learn, process information, take in lots of information to be able to apply it, take what you're learning from a meeting room out to a field. And then you need to bring a competitive stamina to practice every day to be your best. And I was talking with my friend earlier this week, and he was like, well, what separated you on the football field? And I was like, I think there was part of me that was a psychopath out there, because I was extremely hyper competitive every day. I didn't feel like, okay, let's get to Sunday and then now it's the time. Like every day was the time. And every day is the time to give your best. And even if it's practice, do your best in practice. And I learned that in college. Like if I didn't do my best in practice, I wasn't going to play on the weekend because there was no entitlement. So I had to work hard to prove to my teammates, hey, I'm ready to go. I got to be there. I got to show up. I got to be ready. I got to treat this game like it matters more than anything. Well, when my teammates feel that, guess who else has to raise the bar? My teammates, because I'm bringing the juice every day.
Rising tide.
So exactly. So that's what leaders do. Leaders don't have days off. They show up every day and they're like, I'm giving my best. Well, why? That's for me, great, but it's also going to make them better. And then when they're better, we're better. And then we don't have to wait to Sunday to get better. We could get better on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because that's the competition. And then the season ends March, April, May, June. When no one's watching, what are we doing? And if we're all getting better, 5% better or 8% better, and they're not, well, over time, who wins? The guys that are getting better.
Not the guys that are at Live with Grutman at 3 in the
Not
morning.
them. Yeah, I'm glad I met Dave and got closer to him later in my life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you seem maybe a little looser than when you were playing. Is that true?
yeah, but that's natural because like there's more of a regiment to play. And when you're getting hit, as you know, there's a discipline with your physical body that you need to take into account. Because if you fuck around, you're going to get hurt. And it's different than a lot of, I think, sports where they're not that physical.
Yeah.
Maybe like soccer or maybe like baseball or basketball to a degree. But I think like if you play hockey, if you play MMA, compete in MMA, like you don't mess around with your training because you will pay the price. When you got Aaron Donald chasing you, you will pay the price.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there anyone that you were like afraid to get hit by?
A lot of guys. Ndamukong Suh, maybe Ray Lewis was at the top. Ndamukong Suh, I didn't like getting hit by him.
Yeah.
JJ Watt wasn't very fun to get hit by.
I figured you'd say JJ Watt.
Yeah,
He's a
Haloti
machine.
Ngata, you remember him? He was about 340 pounds, played for the Ravens. He was massive. So yeah, like that's not fun.
And that's the physical side. I saw something. You brought up this physical, mental, emotional trifecta, and I saw a post, I think from AB yesterday on Twitter.
Yeah.
You were just making sure that he was getting to his psych appointments.
Yeah.
And he thought that was a.
Yeah, that was.
What's your relationship like with Antonio? We've had him on the show.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, I wanted the best for him. You know, I think I saw a spark in him that I thought if put in the right place, you know, how incredible it could be for not just the team he was on, but for his life and what he could accomplish. And, you know, I always hope for the best for him. And I met him and I always admired him as a player. And then I got to play with him and I actually saw in the meeting room, like how he could take information and bring it to the field. And we picked him up at the Patriots, and he played one game, the opener, second game of the year against Miami. And then the next week in practice, we're playing the Jets. It was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice. We didn't have an incompletion the entire week of practice. Like, that's basically unheard of.
Yeah.
And we released him Friday afternoon. And then, there was just a lot of things that were happening in his life and that he needed to focus on. And the team decided, the Patriots said, no, we're not dealing with this. And the league had some issues. And then we ended up going to Tampa. And then he came back after a suspension in Tampa. And I just thought, okay, if I can help him, like, I'd love to help him because he'd help our team. It'd help his life. And then, I always root for the best,
It's cool. It's cool. There's a saying, check in on your friends, and it's cool to see you doing it in practice. You're a great leader. You're a great leader. I think not a lot of people have the capacity to work well with others like you do. The idea of being on a team sport and having to rely on everyone else to do their jobs, it takes a lot of trust in people. But as he says, leadership comes from the top down, you know, and I think these guys were definitely lucky to have you at the helm, kind of guiding that ship. I wanted to ask you.
Can I say one thing about leadership?
Sure.
I always define leadership as, do you care about your teammates or your coworkers, and do you care what we're trying to accomplish? That to me is great leadership. And like, there's a lot of people that go about those different ways. Some people are more vocal, some people are more action oriented. But I think whether it's verbal or whether it's action, it will still reflect upon those two goals. Like, but if it's about me, my glorification or my money or my agenda, there's not a caring element to the people that you're working with. And it's also not an element about how are we doing this as a team, because football is a team sport. I didn't choose an individual sport. So I needed everybody to be good. I needed every player, every coach. So I needed to be the example. But I had to let them know that, guys, this is about us. This isn't about me, this is us. And you do that a lot of different ways. And then, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to be our best every day. How are we going to do that? And then you put the plan in action. But in this world today, there's so many people that are me focused, and I think that's a big difference from when I look back maybe previously to, this era of social media where we all have our own production businesses and we're all trying to self-promote. And there's a place for that, for sure. But in team sports, that should not be the main priority. Like, if you're off season and you've got to promote products and sell products and you want to bring awareness to certain things, it could be a foundation, it could be a business. Cool with that. Yep. But if you're trying to take away from what the team's trying to accomplish as we go on a mission to beat the other teams that we're competing against, well, then we're going to have a problem, because we're not going to be all committed to the same goal. You're going to have one goal. You're going to have a goal. I'm going to have a goal. All 53 guys in the team, we're all going to have, like, what?
Yeah.
How do we accomplish the one goal?
I bet your teammates were just so disappointed if they ever let you down.
Was that the case?
I can't imagine. Did you ever, like, if someone didn't do their job and like maybe repeatedly, how do you deal with someone who's constantly not performing at the level that they can?
I think there were in football, there were a lot of layers they had to get through before it got to me. There's still a general manager that they had to satisfy, and a head coach and a position coach. I think for me, it was, we all fucked up. I threw a lot of interceptions. I threw a lot of bad passes, made a lot of bad reads. That happens. Physical mistakes happen. Mental mistakes happen to a degree. You go into the huddle and there's 70,000 fans and I rattle off a play call, and in the call I have two different calls. I have one play with an alert to a next play if I like a different look. And I get to the line of scrimmage and then I change the play and then I signal a route to someone. There's a lot of things going on. So I can live with some mental mistakes, and because I made mistakes too. I'd get pissed if we weren't competitive. I'd get pissed if we weren't focused. I'd get pissed if we showed up late. Like, I think more the intangible things would bother me rather than a guy dropping a ball. If a guy dropped a ball, hey, come on, we'll get the next one. If a guy didn't give his heart and soul to the team, I had a problem with that.
Okay. Yeah. No one can be lacking around you.
Yeah, because that's just for a high-performing organization like I was in. we couldn't beat other teams if we were operating at 70%.
Okay.
Bill would always say, don't just expect to roll your helmet out on the field and think that they're going to quit.
Yeah.
Like, you better go earn it. And when you get to be one of the top teams, every team that you play, they're measuring, you're the measuring stick for where they're at. So even if they lose and they keep it competitive, they're like, we were close, but we lost. You know, but for us, because we had this high bar, like, we had to do it. And that to me was the element of sport where, like, even the competition motivated us to be better. When I played Peyton Manning, I couldn't have an off day. That dude was going to throw for 350 yards. How could I have an average day and expect to win? So even the competition motivated us.
Let me ask you something. This competitiveness that you're describing, man, sometimes I'll be playing like backgammon or pickleball with my fiance, and she's so competitive that it actually is not fun. You know, it's like she's too competitive, and then we get in fights and the day is ruined. Are you so competitive that it makes normal trivial sports not so fun?
Yeah, that's a great question. And how old are you?
30.
You're 30, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, when I was probably 30, I was more like that too, where everything had to be competitive. But now that I'm a little bit older, I'm a little more selectively competitive. You know, because I do think you do need to have like a little bit of decompression.
Little bit. I had to
that's
tell her,
not-
like, yo, they were playing backgammon. Like,
I know.
like, it's not a big deal, dude. Like,
Yeah.
if I like
is
beat
to
her,
me.
like, I don't.
So listen, don't play with her. And, you know, like,
We have a thing now.
or let her win and just,
I had to do that for a minute. Yeah, we shake hands and say friendly game.
yeah.
Like it's
What, actually?
Yes, it's an
Every
obligation.
time?
Yeah, we have to. Let me do an intro here real quick. I never got to do it.
Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the GOAT of GOATs, Tom Brady.
What do you think about the timing on that intro?
I normally do it at the beginning, dude.
You're good. We got a good audience.
Ask about the GOAT of GOATs. I mean, like
You're in a weird place because I think the perception is that you're the only definitive GOAT of a sport. Okay, like there's no conversation there. Now we've had Mahomes on the show before.
Yeah,
okay,
he's amazing.
We'll see what happens over the next several years. But when you look at basketball, you've got LeBron, you've got MJ, you've got Kobe. When you look at, you know, tennis, you've got these players. When you look at golf, you've got these players. Why is it that you are such a standout in football and there's no people are willing to put that title on you so confidently?
So you're asking a question about why other people would do something for me. I think
Forget
it's
this question.
Thank you. I agree.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi or Ronaldo? God, that's hard. That's hard. I'm not even answering that question. I like them
Jordan or
both
LeBron?
too much. I like them both too much.
Go F1 driver.
Lewis.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Greatest ever WWE wrestler.
Hulk Hogan.
Biggest partier from the NFL.
Roberto Gronkowski.
Gronkowski.
Yo soy fiesta.
Greatest golfer.
Tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just interesting because it's a ridiculous debate. And I see it on sports all the time. And it's like everyone's just blah, blah, blah. Like 1 year, you know, like there were greatness defined over what, you know, over a career. Like I was on a thing with Peyton Manning this week, and we were talking about the Mount Rushmore of NFL receivers, including tight ends.
Yep.
And like there was a lot of great arguments going back and forth about, you know, Jerry Rice has great stats, but and he was obviously in it. And like I picked Gronk as one of mine, but like Tony Gonzalez has way more catches than him. It's just, are we talking about over a period of time or 1 year or one game?
Yeah, like what's the metric?
What's the metric?
Yeah.
And I think everyone defines that a little bit differently.
I think our producer Dylan has
Yeah.
something for you.
Might be worth adding. How would you define the difference between greatest and best?
Yeah.
How would you define the greatest and best?
That's an interesting.
Oh, you nailed that, Dylan.
Yeah. I just think it's like, how often can you be great? How often can you be great?
Consistency.
Because
Consistency of greatness.
everyone can do great things.
Yep.
But if you're a golfer and you make a birdie and then a bogey and then a birdie, then a bogey, then a birdie bogey, at the end of the day, you shoot par and you're average. If you make 2 birdies for every bogey, you know, it's a great round. If you make 3 birdies for every bogey, so we all make bogeys. The question is, how many birdies can you make? And in football, like I would say, I threw 700 passes a year. In my mind, I threw about 10 to 20 of those perfectly out of 700. So 680 times was imperfect. Now, you may not know where I was trying to throw the ball. You may think, man, he threw a perfect pass. In my mind, I had a vision for that pass that was different than what happened. So my view of being great is how often can the artist replicate perfection on a daily basis? You know, and I think greatness comes from different things. It's not just physical. There's a mental, emotional aspect as well to being great. You can't be a peak performer if you're not competitive every day. There were some of the best physical athletes I ever had that were not competitive every day. There were some of the lesser physical athletes that were competitive every day. And those lesser physical athletes who were competitive every day were champions. They won multiple Super Bowls. You know, who's a great example of that? Julian Edelman. Wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest, tough, competitive, grimy, 3 Super Bowls. So he was a champion, but people would say, well, Calvin Johnson was more physically gifted. There's a lot of them out there, but Julian's a champion. So I don't know. Everyone gets to define it how they want to.
Yeah.
I write this newsletter 199 and I actually wrote about it this week.
I want to talk about 199.
Yeah.
Dude, crazy.
Yeah.
Picked 199th in the draft. And then you end up becoming, I'll go ahead and say, like, pretty objectively in football, the greatest of all time. And that's not the only, I don't know, setback, or maybe I don't know. Was that a setback for you? Like, was being pick 199th kind of like demotivating in any way?
It was one of the most important things that happened in my career too. And I think in some ways it defines a great story, but it's also, I had a different challenges that I had to overcome over a long period of time. And that was one of them. And look, there's nothing wrong with being picked 199. You probably won't get as many chances than the guy who gets picked number 1 or number 19 or number 39. When you're 199, you don't have a ton of chances, but you will get a chance. And I think anyone involved in athletics, as long as you get a chance, you know, you're the one to blame if it doesn't work out for you. And I think a lot of self-defeating attitudes and behaviors that people have is when the first thing that comes out of their mouth if it doesn't work is, well, I just didn't get the opportunity. Like, I never got a chance. And I'm always like, man, you're out there at practice. They film every practice. If you're making plays, everyone wants good players on the field. Like, look at yourself in the mirror and say, like, what do I got to do to get better? What do I have to do to earn the trust of my teammates and coaches? Go ask them. Go figure it out. Work harder. Work on the physical. Work on the mental. Work on the emotional. So have the humility to look in the mirror and self-evaluate. And I don't think a lot of people do that. I think most people want to do the things they're good at. Like, if I'm fast, I want to work on my speed. If I'm strong, I want to work on my strength. If I throw the ball far, I want to work on that. My view is, if I have a great arm, I throw it far, I want to hit all the short ones too, because I know I could throw it deep. If I'm really fast, like, I got to work on the other parts of my game that don't involve speed so I can round out my game.
So you're saying work on your weaknesses just as much as your strengths.
Absolutely. Like the season ends, and I remember and I think there are intangibles you're born with. Like, certain guys are born 6'11", right? They're not their choice. Yeah. That's what happened. Yeah. I think for me, I was born competitive. Like, that just happened. And there was an environment around me that cultivated that competitiveness, like my family, but there was something in me, that little DNA, that won the race, that was competitive.
Did you see that new sport of sperm racing by any chance?
That somehow came up. I don't know.
What, bro?
I can explain it.
Really?
Male fertility. Male fertility. It's a promotion on being healthy, reproducing.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, of course.
This new sport.
Yeah. It was created by a 17-year-old.
So they asked me to announce it.
Oh, no. They say compete. I was like, no way.
No. My thing would go backwards. Actually, I don't even think
it swims in circles.
We did a competition
We're working
once.
hard, but we're not going anywhere.
No, it's
Why
not.
are they going that way?
Tom, they're
How do
not
they
even
know where to
working.
go?
No, they're
We know.
dead.
We tested
They're
them.
dead.
We tested. We did a vlog to see who was the most fertile. I was.
Really?
I got a 7-month-old. Yeah, but to prove it.
Can I will say this.
His work.
I did-
You'd never seen sperms behave like this in your life. These things.
Can I say this? I broke some of the rules. I broke some of the rules.
I
for
don't
the
even want to know what
test.
the rules are.
No, do not use spermicidal lube. So you and I know this is getting, and you can't
Ejaculate for
you
5
can't-
days.
No, but there was another big one. You're not supposed to utilize another person.
Bro,
to,
don't say utilize. That's crazy.
You're not supposed to collaborate with another human. You're not supposed to collaborate with another human to produce the sample.
Okay.
And I collaborated with another human to produce the sample. And
Not just any human. This chick could produce samples out of. I mean this. Anyway, listen. Yeah. What we were saying
so
was,
anyways,
We need the disclaimer to come over because I have 3 kids that are probably going to want to watch this. So before that last segment, yeah.
my daughter too, but she won't have.
Yeah,
any
she's not
idea
old
what's
enough
going
yet,
on.
but
She won't
this
know.
will be, live on forever.
Yeah. Facts.
we have to address something.
Okay.
The-
Not
the-
your sperm again.
No, forget that. No sperm, no heroin. Just leave it alone. We're talking about going late in the draft. Elephant in the room. Shedeur Sanders. What happened, Tom? Why did he go so late in the draft?
I mean, it's a good question. I wasn't a part of any evaluation process or to
Skip
to
Bayless
see
says
that.
otherwise.
No. Well, everyone's got that's the problem with media is everyone can just say whatever the fuck they want and
Crazy.
get away with it. And
Crazy.
it's kind of unfortunate because there actually used to be a lot of integrity in media and there's way less now because everyone needs crazy voices to get heard. And it actually probably hurts a lot of relationships, which is not the goal of, broadcasting. It should be to develop and cultivate and solve problems. And rather than the critiques, I want people to offer solutions all the time. So nobody knows. And I actually texted Shedeur because I know him very well. And I said, dude, like whatever happens, wherever you go, like that's your first day. Day 2 matters more than the draft. I was 199.
Yeah.
So who could speak on it better than me? Like what that really means. Use it as motivation. You're going to get your chances. Go take advantage of it. So everyone makes, like I remember like when they were talking about Aaron Rodgers sliding and Aaron slid to like 21 in the first round or whatever it was. I'm like, dude, you're the 21st pick in the first round. I think they still think you're pretty good. Like you're still a great player. You're a first round pick in the NFL. There's only 32 of those guys every year. So use it as motivation. Like wherever you end up going, you still have it's about your performance. Like what do you do when you get there? Because you're going to get there. I was around some of the best players were undrafted free agents. They were Rodney Harrison. Like Rodney Harrison wasn't a high pick. Like he was Julian Edelman wasn't a high pick. Wes Welker wasn't a high pick. Danny Amendola. All those guys were phenomenal players. So what's it matter like other than some overhyped day where a lot of people are selling stories and saying, all right, this is the big day and this is the draft and it's an important day and it's fun and I love, watching it and seeing it. But like I've also been there on day 2 and they got to show up and actually learn a playbook, be a part of a locker room. And there's a lot of growth that needs to happen.
Alongside what Skip said and the media said, obviously it's just been such a hot story. How do you, and you've come up in it numerous times, how do you decide which of the things that are said you actually want to respond to? Because you did have a response for Skip, right?
I don't think I did. No, I think for the most part, I never respond because it just goes out the next day anyway. And there's so much, I think maybe one of the benefits of all the social media is it just goes out the next day too.
The news cycle is getting so quick nowadays. Man, I think it's about 36 hours until like what was the biggest news yesterday is
gone
people
forever.
just don't give a fuck about it. It's crazy the churn that's happening right now.
You almost have to take the mindset, will I respond to everything or will I respond to nothing?
That's it's almost like a commentary viewpoint. You almost, at that point, you just become a part of the commentary community. I want to ask one more question about Shedeur. How do you see him fitting into the offense in Cleveland and what does he have to do to prove himself in that organization?
Yeah, he's got to show up every day. And what I say about leadership, you got to, as a quarterback, you have to be a leader. And to me, the leader is, do I care about my teammates? And do I care about what we're trying to accomplish? Like rules 1 and 2. And I would say that to every quarterback that I ever come across. And if they're listening, do that. Because that's what's endearing to your teammates. And you're not just appealing to your 22-year-old rookie. You're appealing to the 32-year-old veteran who's trying to get the last couple of years out of his career. You're appealing to the coach who doesn't want to get fired. You're appealing to the owner who's made an investment in you. You're appealing to the staff who are all their lives are riding on the fact that you need to perform well. So, like, the only thing that mattered to me over time were my teammates. Like, did they feel like I gave them the best chance to win? When I got in the huddle and we were down and I said, come on, let's go. It's time. They rose to the occasion.
Let me ask a question based on that thought. All right. 2017, I went to my first Super Bowl. Patriots, Falcons.
Oh, man.
Dog.
Yeah.
It's halftime. It's 28-3. Tom, I stopped paying attention.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so boring. These Pats are just getting slapped.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, third quarter, you guys are scoring some points. Fourth quarter, you come back and you win the game.
Yeah.
You win the game in what was like the
greatest comeback?
One of the greatest comebacks ever, and definitely in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
What do you say to your teammates when you're in the locker room at halftime, down 25?
Yeah. We were Bill, when we left the locker room going to the second half, and there were some positive things we did in the first half, and we were on the field a lot offensively, so we knew their defense was a little tired. We just didn't execute well to score the points, and those guys were playing really good. But he said, guys, it was 21-3 at half, and he said 21 points isn't going to be enough to beat us. And then they scored a touchdown in the third quarter. It was 28-3, and I was like, 28 might be enough, And I thought, like, man, don't go fight your ass off. Like, you may lose this game, but you ain't going down like a little bitch. Like, go to the end. Like, and I would just say to him, come on, one score. We just need one. And we drove the ball down and we scored. It was 28-9. And there was a little momentum. And our defense found a little spark, and they made us stop. Then they punted the ball back to us. We went down the field again, kicked the field goal, 28-12. And I was like, 2-score game. Come on, D, we just got to make a play. And Dante Hightower strips Matt Ryan. We score again, get the 2-point, 28-20. Now it's a 1-score game. It happens. And I think the point of that too is, like, you just talk about the Shedeur Sanders, 5th round. Like, what do you do when you're down 28-3? You take advantage of whatever opportunity you get. And if we got one drive, we were going to try to take advantage of it. And I felt like my whole career was that way. Like, I always felt like I was behind trying to catch up to other people. And so maybe it wasn't anything new to me, because I was like, I'm always trying to fight from behind. I was 199. I was the 7th quarterback when I started at Michigan. I was the backup quarterback in high school on my freshman team that didn't win a game. Like, I was a late bloomer. So I just bloomed a little late in that Super Bowl too. By the way, for the first 40 minutes of the game, I didn't play great, but because we fought and because we overcame the adversity, it ended up being what could have been the worst game of my career and one of the worst blowouts in the history of the NFL, ended up being one of the best games of my career. So
history. Yeah,
man, when you're down, like, that's a great opportunity to come back. And I had a sports psychologist that I referred to earlier. His name was Greg Harden. Greg passed away this last year. And he had a big impact on me personally in college and kind of reframed my mindset about competing. And he just said, like, you're down already. Like, it's 2 minutes left in the game. You're already going to lose. Go do something about it. Yeah. And then the next day, everyone's going to be talking about the comeback. And it's like, wow. So then I started looking at all those times where we're losing in the game as an opportunity. It was like, man, I couldn't come back if I wasn't behind. So go get it done. Work hard to get it done. And then it's like, oh, we don't have to be ahead with 10 points with 2 minutes left to win the game. We could still be behind and come back and win. And that's the attitude.
And it's the storyline. Like a blowout's cool, but nothing is cooler than seeing somebody come back from
exactly.
something.
How many game-winning shots did MJ make, or Kobe, or like Steph Curry? When you watch those, you're like, that's what you want to see, man. That's sports. That gets you up out of your chair.
Would you say that game was one of the defining? Was that the defining moment of your career?
From a game standpoint, yeah. That was
How good did that feel?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like even still thinking about it, it's just 28-3 and basically everything had to go right. And we found a way to make it happen and everything did go right. And I just remember after the game, I was exhausted. I took a pretty big shot on our last drive. I got hit in the head pretty good. Ooh. And I was on autopilot from the last drive in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Like there were 2 drives were really foggy. And I remember after that game, I was just exhausted and probably didn't understand what exactly happened. Because look, you're in the moment. You're not seeing it from the fans' perspective. You're seeing it from your perspective. And then it takes you a little while to decompress in the game. And then when you watch it, you're like, holy shit. How did I do that? How did we make that play? Or how did he make that stop?
Wait, this happened?
It all kind of comes back to life for you.
Is that feeling after a game where you just put it all out there and you're exhausted and like probably a little beat up, but healthy and ready to go for the next one? Is that a good feeling for you?
The best. That's what you miss most about sports is, the man in the arena. Who's beaten, whose face is marred by blood and sweat, and you get to go fight.
Yep.
And like it's nice being in the arena. And it's like when you're in that, you have appreciation for the other people in that arena with you and what they give up and what they sacrifice for. Because not a lot of jobs take on the physical body.
Yeah.
Which is what the sports do. Sports you have to master the physical part too. Like a lot of investment jobs or it's mental and it's emotional.
Yep.
Physical, when you put it all together.
Stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would walk out because I do broadcasting for Fox now.
Yep.
And I love it. But there's not a physical challenge to it. And that's the difference. Like I walk out of the game and I'm like, damn, I feel good. Like you're a little, worn out just because a little emotional. But the reality is like when I'd walk off the field after a game and it was 3 hours and 20 minutes long and you were in 90-degree heat, like that's a physical toll that you have to overcome too. You don't want to give into your body. So you just keep fighting on.
Do you go ahead.
So I was going to say earlier.
You guys didn't read each other's cues right there.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
Deep inhale.
I didn't hear his little micro breath.
No.
I didn't catch it.
I was going to
Same
say
time.
earlier you talked about the mental part of the game as well and a quarterback's ability to intake information, which I think is obviously a huge part of that position. And it's really cool to see that part of your mind work now as an analyst, color commentating for the NFL as well. Wow, healthy deal, Tom. Congratulations on the $375 million
Yeah, it sounds like
deal.
one of the Paul brothers deals.
Yeah, one of them. Congrats, Jake. Congrats, Jake, on the private jet.
I hope he shares it all with you. You guys have fine ways.
Well, sort of. He got an investment property in Georgia, so many acres, 5,600 acres, and
wow.
I was like, man, can I build a house? He's like, sure, bro. Like, I'll sell it to you at the land.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, so
the businessman.
100%.
He's like, it's an investment property. I said, fair play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to see that part of your mind work. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about what that's been like, because for me, when I watch sports, any sport, man, the commentary it's the narrative. It's the narration of what I'm watching is so important. Is that a different type of pressure? Is that something you like doing? Because I know it can be exhausting as well. I mean, you're talking for a long time, especially as someone who, like we talked about earlier, like your social battery, it sounds like it has a cap.
Yeah, it does. It's a different challenge for sure, and it's a challenge. It's not easy at all, and I don't want to make it seem like, sometimes when you say it's not easy, like you don't feel I don't want people feeling sorry. It's a job. You got to commit. You got to do it. And I think this first year was good to get under my belt because you really don't know what you don't know until you do it. And then you have so much more respect for the guys that have done it and are doing a great job of it, because you're like, holy, like you got to thread the needle so many times throughout the game. Like you don't want to be too hard on people because they are trying hard, and you don't want to be too hard on what you think you see because you don't know what the coach told the guy. Maybe the coach said, absolutely don't throw it there. And now that guy's open. And now I'm going, why didn't they throw it there? But the coach had told the guy, listen, we're not looking over there.
But you also want to be entertaining.
You got to have fun, and you got to be entertaining. You got to teach people, and you got to talk about the offense and the defense, or the coach, or the general manager, or the owner, or the ref, or you got to have an opinion on the call. So there's like an art to it. And I'm working my way through the art part. it's that's why it's a great challenge because it's one of those jobs too where I do jump out of my bed, in the morning during the football season. I'm like, all right, babe, let's rock and roll.
Bro, I jump out of bed for $375 million too.
Yeah, you got
Hell
to,
yeah.
got to get to work. There's a lot of things to do.
You think as you continue to get comfortable with it, you'll ever see yourself becoming like the more debaucherous commentator, like a Shaq or like a Barkley or something? Like those guys
they have a
say
great time.
Anything they want. Dude.
Yeah, they do. They have a great chemistry. I think our job is a little more professional when you're during games because they're not doing in the moment games. They're just doing like the studio stuff, which is great and it's really fun. Like we have a Fox pregame show with Strahan and Terry and Howie and Jimmy retired this year, but Gronk's on there. Jay Glazer's on there. They have so much fun. And everyone always says to them, you guys really have that much fun. And that's a moment for that. Like my partner, Kevin Burkhardt, is the best guy partner in the world. And like, that's my dog. Like we got each other's back. So if he and I have that chemistry, then
super important.
Then it's so important.
Mm-hmm. Do you regret doing the roast of Tom Brady?
I regret that my kids had to it's tough on my kids for sure. Because I don't think they're at an age. I kind of went in there, look, you don't know what to expect. And I love laughing at myself. It felt like I was in the locker room. And the harder people go at me, I'll actually love it.
It's the psychopath in you, Tom.
Yeah, it's just like if people make fun of you, then I know that I'm good with them. And like I said earlier, I don't take myself too serious. So, but I do understand, like for my kids, that was really hard.
It was a big hit.
Yeah.
It was a massive show. Yeah, you said
it was a massive hit.
Yeah.
And you said that right after the show too, that you felt.
Yeah. And I didn't realize, like there's some things as a parent you fuck up and you don't realize until after, like, and we're not perfect parents. Like, and you'll see as you grow up, like there's no perfect manual for it. And like, you got to evaluate yourself as a parent too all the time. So even though I really enjoyed the show and the performances were incredible. And like when you were in that moment in that theater that night at the Forum, like it was electric.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy. Like we got done. Everybody was on cloud nine. And I think that moment I'll never forget, and then I'll never forget when I talked to my kids the next day.
Oh, man.
And I was like, I felt like, a stake through the heart, understandably,
were they mad, sad?
They're protective of their mom, of their dad, of everybody, they're just, what was the point of that? Why did you do that? So it's just, you live and you learn.
As a parent, now I'm a parent too, so I'm actually kind of asking for me a little bit. So I'm finding out, and I like heard this, but it's got to be one of the hardest jobs in the world.
Yeah.
Because it feels really hard to do perfectly.
Yeah.
Like fucking up seems kind of inevitable, and that's a heavy feeling because now you're like affecting a person's life, right? A person you really love. But is that inability to do parenthood perfectly being inevitable? Do you think that there's any logic in trauma actually leading to or yielding success if kids can make it out and come on the other side?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Comeback story?
well, not
like-
necessarily a comeback story. I'll just say I guess this is anecdotal, but I've seen it a lot, man. Like a lot of really successful people have like fucked up childhoods. They go through a lot of like dark and difficult times in their life. That's certainly like my story and my brother's story. And I don't know, any kid going through stuff, do you think if they can make it out on the other side and learn from it, it actually hardens them in a way that's positive?
Yeah, I think getting toughened up is a good thing. Getting roughed up in a lot of things because you have perspective too when you have empathy for other people that are going through tough situations too. So like I went through a lot of different adversities. They all challenged me, and when I did make it through, you're right. I gained a lot of self-confidence and self-esteem dealing with adversities and overcoming them. And I think the challenge is when people are gifted a lot and given a lot, and they don't have to earn it. They don't gain the self-esteem or self-confidence. But if you go through the adversity, like all the hardest things that happen in your life, when you look back, they shaped you the most, and they end up being the best things. So it's hard when you appeal to your kids that way.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to see them hurt.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. You don't mind yourself hurting. You don't want to see your parents hurt. You don't want to see your kids hurt. You don't want to see because you can't do anything about it. Now for you, you're like, all right, I could do something about it. And some people don't make it through those hard things either. So we can't be insulating as a parent. You got to let them experience the world. And I think what I've learned over the last few years with my parents, with being a parent, is just being there and because you don't know when the conversations are going to happen. You could script them, be like, hey, we're going to Disneyland and we're going to have this great day and this and that. And that's going to be a big, important day in your life. Or we're going to take you to this and that. And we're going to take you to the show and we're going to take you to the movies. And you realize the car ride home from school, you had a moment that, wow, we had a conversation that we needed to have. And it was like just a school pickup. So like, you got to be, for me as a parent, I speak about talking to myself, is you got to be available and you got to be present. And that's where the parenting happens, not in the big moments. It's a lot of times it's in the small moments.
It's really never in the big, like nothing happened in Disneyland or skiing in Vermont. I remember I had a mental breakdown on the mound when I was pitching. I was like 13 years old, 12 years old, something like that. And I started crying my eyes out. And I like ran off the field because it was a really important game. And my dad came up to me and gave me a pep talk and sent me back out. It's like one of the things that stands out in my mind. It wasn't, going to this dinner or to that vacation. It was one of those moments where he was just there. You know?
Awesome.
You picking your kids up from school?
Yeah.
Are the other parents like, oh, holy shit, that's Tom Brady?
No, they're pretty good. The school gets used to me going there. And
like, do you go to parent-teacher conferences?
yeah, of course.
That's great.
You're a PTA dad?
No.
I don't run the PTA, no. But like, I try to be just, dad. I always introduce myself to the kids' friends as Vivi's dad and Benny's dad. Hey, how you doing, Benny's dad? Because it kind of just breaks it down, because a lot of and I had this with my teammates. Like there were a lot of walls that got built up, as I got older and I played 23 pro seasons. When you're in your 20th year, and you got a 22-year-old, he's seen you the whole life. So you got to like break some walls down. Hey, I'm Tom. Like, good to meet you. Where are you from? What do you like to do? Like, what music do you like? Let's sit and have lunch together. So like that happens over time at school too. You got to break down the walls so people can actually feel comfortable. Because that's all I want too. I want to be comfortable too. Like, so I need people around me to be comfortable.
Do you feel comfortable right now?
Very, like in a way, like, I don't know. This is pretty fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What things do you like? What type of music do you like to listen to?
I've been in the locker room for a long time, so I hear it all, and everyone else controlled the music, so I heard it all.
Do you have like a favorite artist?
Jay-Z was always probably one of my favorites.
Come on, the GOAT.
I always like U2. I like Jack Johnson. I love Morgan Wallen. I like Post Malone. I like Drake. I don't know. I like it all.
Has it been
like all of us?
Has it been fun after football to be able to kind of like kick your feet up and probably chill with most of the guys you just named if you wanted?
Yeah, that's fun. I think the best part for me is I don't feel like that fight or flight is happening every day anymore. Like the stress, I'd say the stress levels are a lot lower.
I can imagine.
A lot of golf.
I'm not stressed about golf. I'm not really stressed, period. But in football, like think about it, like you're an athlete. So if you're not training and you're like, I got other shit to do and I can't train, there's an anxiousness, even in the off season about training. So it's like, I don't feel that stress of like, oh shit, I should be getting ready for football. That's the best part.
We've had Steve Weatherford on this podcast and a lot of athletes, and they all describe this feeling that
what now?
Athletes have, after they achieve the big goal, which he described as the what now moment, right? He won his first Super Bowl. He said he went back to the hotel and he kind of looked around and like he's like, okay, like I've wanted to do that my whole life. What now?
Win 6 more is what Tom said.
Yeah. So for you, not from a game perspective, because you really did it in your career. Nice work, by the way. But after when you hung up the helmet, did you have that moment? What now? Like, it's been your identity for 2 decades. You did it to the absolute highest extreme. What do you do now?
Yeah, you hope that it's not a crash landing. And I think that's the hard part, is because it's not just, it's not like it's your identity or whatever. It's just, you loved it. Like what else? You don't get to do what you love to do anymore. It's like, and there's not many people that have athletes face that. Other people probably face that too, but I would say, like, if you went in investments, you could probably do that your whole life. You know, if you went into media, you could probably do it your whole life. In sports, it comes to an end. So like
the physical side.
Yeah, I tried to prepare for it, and I did some like great things, I think, in order to transition a little bit smoother. But there's no way to the outcome without going through it. And it's what you just have to face. Like, okay, like I remember when I announced my retirement on my social media a couple years, however many years ago. Kevin was there, second one. Kevin was there with me.
No way.
A mile from here. And I made a video in the morning, and I just literally grabbed my phone, and it was like, there was an emotion to it. Cause like I was telling myself, I'm not doing it again, you know? So it's just, it's emotional because it meant a lot. And it meant a lot that like, painters don't give up painting, football players, but we got to give up football, and now I actually get to be a part of football. I'm an owner of a football team.
Yep.
I'm still around the guys all the time, so I can impact that. I'm in broadcasting with football. I love that. So it's not far away.
Yeah, no.
So I still get to do a lot of fun stuff.
Do you ever miss it and just really wish you were back out there?
What I love is and I'll always love this, is the feeling of throwing a perfect pass. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like the only correlation I can make. Do you guys golf at all?
Yeah, I do.
So like, you ever hit like a perfect 7-iron?
Perfect trajectory, lands right on the green, makes the divot. You got to fit. It just makes your whole day.
Yes.
It makes your whole day.
Yeah. So that's throwing a football for me. Like that perfect, oh, I want to do that again. Oh, I want to do that
It's
again.
like when you bet on just 17 on roulette and it hits. Like you put it's just 17. It's the only number you bet on. It drops in.
There you
It's
go.
almost like a Zen.
How much are you putting on that just 17? Are we
He'll
like
dump
changing
1,000. He'll dump 1,000
Really?
a
Yeah,
number.
I've hit like 5 times on a number.
That feels good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
35K.
Yeah. Solid.
That's a good
payout.
win.
Solid. It feels good.
Is that a daily for you?
What?
Is that skeleton?
It is.
What's
You like that?
I do actually.
It's special for you guys. I had to bring something out of the.
You are a big collector.
Yeah.
You got a lot of memorabilia.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Tom Brady auction that just happened?
Yeah.
I almost bid on it. I don't know why I didn't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
There was
stuff.
a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
I'm keeping all my I guess I kept like my top 50 stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff just piling up in a closet. And I'm
So
like,
you were like, let's just.
I was
run it.
like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna sit on it for my whole life, and then my kids are gonna get rid of it, or like.
Do you have any more of the skeletons piling up in the closet by any chance?
do,
Just out of
yeah.
curiosity. I'm really trying to find a black skeleton, dude.
I have one. But it's not for sale.
I know. Dude, I want one so bad, but I just hate the MSRP on it is like 90 or something. I cannot find one for like less than like 260 or 270.
I know.
Please,
I think
can I buy it
the
off
watch
you?
world has exploded with social media, and then it's great to get great pieces.
What's your
That's the
favorite
hunt.
watch? You've got some crazy,
I got some great ones.
crazy watches.
Yeah, I got one recently. I'm not even gonna tell you what it is.
Oh my
You'll
God.
just see it, and you'll be like, "Damn, that's the one he was talking about."
Really like that.
Yeah.
Will
it's
you wear
pretty-
it? Will you wear it to Michael's party in
I'm gonna
July?
wear it. Let me see when I'm gonna wear it. What's coming up? That's big.
Met Gala.
This will be the first time.
Met Gala this week.
First time. I'm not going to Met Gala. I wouldn't wear it. There needs to be security around. Let me say that.
The white party.
Michael's not having it this year. That would be a great place to wear it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Who has better watches, you or Jay?
I think Jay's got me
Dude.
beat. Jay's got some.
He's got that one that Tiffany watch is crazy.
Yeah, he's got that. He's got a lot of the RM, the sapphires. He's got a lot of
Yeah.
old vintage Patek's and.
Is he the GOAT rapper?
Man, I don't think I'm like the expert in this. He's my favorite. But like, there's a lot of probably people who are probably have a lot better insight. into
Who'd
that.
you have on Drake and Kendrick?
Mate, peace on earth, man. Let them all get along.
You ever get a watch stolen?
No.
Had a $300,000 Patek stolen. Well, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got my shit.
No, I didn't have a watch stolen, but I had a card stolen. I was at the Super Bowl this year, and I have this.
Card?
Yeah, so so I have involved in a business, hobby shops, and they're called Card Vault by Tom Brady.
Just launched in London, correct?
That was a Fanatic store that Michael launched. But it was
okay.
great, and Michael's been hugely helpful to our team.
I can imagine.
And we have, yeah, it's an American Dream
Oh
Mall.
my God.
Oh, yeah.
I did see this.
Yeah, we have four stores open. We want to get to 100. But we were signing at the Super Bowl this last year. We had like a little party for kind of the executive team and a few people involved in the business. And they said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to sign one of your Expo cards that Fanatics had made for me. I got drafted to play baseball. And they're like, all right, this is really cool. We're going to do like a 1-on-1. It's a perfectly graded card. And what you're going to write is, because I made a joke on one thing. And I said, okay, if baseball doesn't work out, there's always football. So then I signed for this card vault. If football doesn't work out, there's always card vault. So I literally signed it. We turned around, we started talking. I left the store. I'm driving back to my hotel because I'm working the Super Bowl. I'm broadcasting. And my business partner calls and is like, did you take the card with you? And I was like, no. Like, it was on the table. Someone stole the card right from.
Oh my God.
Rolling as he signed it.
Yeah. So Keith's going back to the tape.
And we go back to the tape.
No evidence.
Card's gone.
Oh my
So
God.
we got people that go outside and they hear these kids talking about the card. And then we actually ended up getting it back. Someone took it right off the table.
Oh, dude, it's tough because such high value items that are just so small and can just be like nabbed so easily. Dude, Fanatics is, by the way, I love Michael Rubin and Fanatics. They do such sick stuff for WWE. I had someone come up to me and put a little patch on my shoe this last match at WrestleMania. Patch on my. I was like, what the fuck? What do you get off my gear?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, they're gonna put it in a card. And so
Amazing.
it's such like just a innovative idea, like a match worn patch on the shoe.
Oh, amazing.
And they can do that for any sport.
Yeah, they do it for baseball. They're doing it for football, the rookie patches.
It's such a good idea, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
all about innovation.
Yeah, they're on it. And super disruptive. I could see why you and Ruben are boys.
Yeah.
Did you always have hobbies like you have now, or wanted to collect, or were you just a workhorse at one point?
I always started with cards. Like when I was a kid, that's what I did. You know, I had all the baseball cards, football cards, and like I had a street of, there was like 70, 80 kids and we all collected and we just trade them to each other. And that was like the first thing I ever collected, you know, was cards. And I think that's probably the inflection point for most people is cards.
Dude, I'm obsessed.
Did you collect Pokemon cards?
Yeah,
Didn't you have the $1
Pokemon.
million card?
I got $8 million card. I got a $5.2 million card.
Get out of here.
Mm-hmm. It's the
Where do
rarest.
you keep that?
Where?
Yeah.
I don't even want to say.
Okay, I won't.
Yeah,
It's inside an active volcano.
Oh, good. It's safe.
yeah, no, that's
For now.
That's
That's amazing.
it's a thing. It's a total.
You want to go to some parties right now?
Yeah, we don't want to keep you forever.
No. I mean, with us. Like, do you want to come to
Tonight?
parties? Yeah.
You're going to a
We're
party
going to go to the
tonight.
Canes to the Raising Canes
Yeah.
party.
He is.
He is
I don't
coming.
know.
No, you're
Your
coming.
dad, he's got early morning.
No.
you
He
know.
said he's going to come. 50s
I'll figure it
performing
out.
tonight.
That sounds
Todd.
fun.
It's going to be a good
Yeah,
one.
at 2 a.m.
Todd Graves. No, it's
That's
not. It's at
late.
12. It's at 12. We can go to Palm Tree right down the street, chain smokers.
Oh, that's
Come on,
good
let's
too.
go do something.
Let me figure
All
it
right,
out.
forget it. It's fine. I get it, Tom. I get it. You got other stuff to do, you know?
Yeah, dude, thanks for joining us on
Thanks,
Saturday
fellas.
evening, though. This is so gracious of you.
Glad it worked out. This is cool.
Yeah, for real.
Any
to
other
be
stuff? Any questions for us before you
Questions
go?
for Mike?
No, I think
Yeah,
you guys
ask me a
just
random question, Tom. Fire
listen,
something off.
You guys are making. I think the only thing I'd say is you guys are making a positive impact in a lot of things you do. Like, keep it up.
Well, it depends who you ask.
It should be
Totally depends on
inspiring
who
and
you ask.
aspiring. Like, I think we need more people out there that are trying to help people be their best self. You know,
thanks.
Man.
as opposed to being a.
I think you're right. I think there's a lot of negative chatter online, and I think it's what humans are unfortunately like instinctually drawn to. I don't think it's like super abnormal for anyone in any species to see something bad and be like gravitate towards it in a little bit. But a lot of people lock onto that. So Mike and I, with the show at least, are trying to bring some sort of semblance of value to somebody. Like, there will be people that watch this podcast and it affects the way they live the rest of their life because something you said. And
Arguably the best one we've ever had.
that's it. Well, bro, TB12.
Come on.
On behalf of me and the Impulsive audience, dude, thank you for joining us. This has been
guys.
Tom
Damn,
Brady.
he really showed up. I
Ladies and
still
gentlemen,
can't believe it.
I can't believe it. We
believe
finished it. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next week. Take it easy. Peace.
See you guys. You guys mind plugging my YouTube channel a little bit?
Yo, guys, if you're watching the Tom Brady channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're going to come after you, Mr. Beast. GOAT quarterback, GOAT YouTuber from this point on.
God damn, I got a lot to learn.